You're watching the Sporting Time Show with host Doug Thompson. Sponsored by Jewelry Barn and Pawn Shop.
Good evening and welcome to the Sporting Time Show. I am Doug Thompson. Thank you for spending a few minutes of your Saturday evening with me. Well, we have a great show today. Where tonight we've got Jason Jaggers, who is with me here right now. He is the head baseball coach of the Greenwood Gators. Coach, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me.
We have got to get, I had Wes Sanford on last week,
Yeah.
and I introduced him as the oldest, youngest coach in the 14th or the 4th region, and he immediately said, deferred to you. And we were talking about how you guys don't age, but you told me before we started that you actually played against him in high school.
Yeah, we actually played against each other. I played at Greenwood, he played at Warren East, and even during summer ball, we played Colonel ball together with the American Legion team.
What, was he any good? I mean, was he?
Yeah, he was a pretty good ball player.
No, I didn't ask you. He didn't tell me that he played against you. So what is it about baseball, like all you coaches, when you think about you and you think about Sanford that have been coaching for years, obviously you assistant coach to Decker, you took over 2011, but Ethan McGuire's been coaching for a long time.
Sam Royce.
Well, I mean, Royce, yeah, I mean, you all look good. You all look, and Royce has, what, 42 years?
I think he's somewhere around there, yeah. It's been a long time.
And, you could go on and on. Even, Eisenberg's relatively new, but all of you look like you could get out there and still swing a bat. I don't know about Royce, and I don't want to compare you to football coaches. That wouldn't be fair, because you are a football coach as well. But what is it about the longevity of the baseball coaches here in the 4th region?
I think it's just being around the kids. Every team's different, and you get a new mix of kids. And it's just the joy of being out there with them, trying to be a positive influence on them. And every year is different, but it's a lot of fun.
So you, like Coach Sanford, you've gotten to the point now where you coached as a head coach players that are now professionals in the community and they have families. Is that what is that like for you to kind of experience that part of it?
It's crazy. It kind of shows you. It shows me how old I'm kind of getting. I see things on Instagram and so forth, and keep up with them. Guys getting married, guys having kids.
Yeah.
It's just it's kind of surreal, really.
And it's and I've mentioned this probably 1,000 times. The relationships that are created between high school coaches and high school student athletes. I don't know what it is about that 4-year period. And again, I've said it a million times. The relationship that I have with my coach still today, he was a huge influence on me. But what is it about that 4-year period that just connects for a lifetime?
Yeah, well, they're going through a lot of changes. They're trying to find out who they are as a young man, and going from a young teenager and turning into a young man, young adult. And they go through a lot of things, and we see them through their highs, we see them through their lows, but we spend a whole lot of time with them, and sometimes more than the parents get to spend with them with their schedules and so forth. But we just try to be there for them, be positive influences on them. But a lot of our guys kind of do the same thing for us as coaches. It's not just coaches for players, it's players for coaches, and they do a good job of keeping us young and being positive influences on us as well.
So, you played high school baseball. Were you a multi-sport athlete?
No.
Okay, so baseball was so what influences or who were your influences when you were kind of coming up through school, and what got you kind of saying, baseball is my sport?
Coach Decker, of course, Coach Goodnight coached as well, Ernie Thomas, Doug Gildy coached us in summer ball, some of those guys, and then some teachers like Jason Couch, who was also a teacher coach, people like that were positive influences on me.
We've only got about 45 seconds left, but really quick, was it tough for you to decide that you were only going to be a one-sport athlete back then?
For the most part, yes. I played football as a freshman, and then just decided to start playing baseball the rest of the way through. And then, you know, as far as becoming a coach, I knew that early on that's what I wanted to do. And so right after high school, I jumped right into it.
Yeah, well, I tell you what, when we come back from the break, I want to ask you about influence of being a father and a coach and being the father.
Okay.
So we'll talk about that. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, more with Jason Jaggers, the head coach of the Greenwood baseball team, right here on WNKY NBC 40. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Jason Jaggers is my guest tonight. And Coach, I kind of teased a little bit. Obviously, you have a son that plays on the team today, but before he started playing, and you became a father, you were coaching. Did that change? Did that influence? Did that change the way you coached, or did coaching help you? You know, as a father, relate because you were involved with so many kids for so long.
Actually, I think it's a mixture of both. You know, I've always wanted to try to be a positive role model for our guys, and try to be an extension of the parents at home, since we spend so much time with their sons. So I think it's a mixture of both, because I want, you know, if Cannon was being coached by somebody else, I would want him to be coached like that was the coach's son.
Right.
And that's what we try to do as well, is coach our players as if they were our sons as well. And so it's a mixture of both.
Yeah, it's really a great dynamic to see coaches that have, you know, sons or daughters that play for them, which we've covered for years. But talking about your team this year, and we talked a little bit before the show about just getting out of the 14th district. Forget about the 4th region, but arguably I think we are in a region that is one of the tops in the state. And you know better than anybody just how competitive it is here in the 14th district.
Yeah, I mean, you know, we played Bowling Green this week, you know, and Monday we're in position. We have a chance to, you know, to tie the game or take the lead, but we stayed right there with them. And then Tuesday night, we didn't play bad. I mean, we didn't. They played great. You know, I mean, we don't make any errors. They seemed to hit the ball around, and they played a complete game, and they outplayed us, and that's kind of the way it goes. But it's tough. You know, we're sitting at 12-8 right now, but with the inexperience that we had and some of the youth that we had, you know, we're kind of about maybe where we thought we'd be. We thought we would take some lumps, but our guys, they stay positive. They work hard. You know, they weren't defeated. They were upset on Tuesday night, but they weren't defeated. You know, and you know, I think we'll come out and we'll play great tonight.
Well, and you look at the district play, and you've seen it so many times that you could have maybe a top seed playing in the district, and they don't win.
Yeah.
And you can't ever count anybody out in this 14th district when you get into that tournament.
No, and you know, even before South was opened, I mean, there were years with Decker that we were the 4 seed, and we upset, you know, either Warren Central or Bowling Green as the 1 seed to advance to region. And, you know, that's happened once or twice since we've had a 5-team district. But this is one of those years where it doesn't seem like somebody has that one horse on the mound that is completely dominant. Now, there are some great pitchers in the district, but, you know, anybody can beat anybody on any given night, you know, if you put it together.
Yeah, and actually this will be the last year that we have that 5-team. I don't think the new school coming in has a baseball program.
No, not yet.
So you guys will go back to a 4. How does that change the dynamics?
You know, it really doesn't change it a whole lot. You know, I know with the 5-team district, it just seemed like we played a lot of district games, especially when we played a 3-game series. It seemed like half your schedule was against the 14th district. But, you know, we go back to 4 teams. You know, we can actually start to schedule a little bit more teams outside of our district and maybe even outside of the region, which would be exciting. But, you know, it's going to be nice to kind of be back to a 4-team district.
Did you like the 3-game series, how they had that set up, or do you prefer kind of the 2-game?
Yeah, you know, I liked it some. I liked the 3-game series in the sense that, you know, you kind of get to real baseball. you know, you have those 3-2 games in games 1 and 2, and all of a sudden the third game is 15-12. You know,
Yeah, that's right.
but I do know that I've talked to the other coaches in the district, you know, and for me personally, it was just mentally and physically draining.
Yeah.
And especially for our players, you know, especially if you get rained out on Monday, then you play Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. I mean, it was almost guaranteed we were going to give the kids a day off just to kind of rest.
Yeah, and this year, we got about 30 seconds, but this year, the weather has been awful. And so many games have been canceled because of rain.
Yeah, and it's hard for guys to find games because everybody's trying to find games. You know, Wes and I were talking about it yesterday, and you know, we've tried to find games like last weekend, and we were unable to do it. But you know, you want that consistency of being able to continuously play and not be play and stop.
Absolutely. Coach, thank you very much for joining me today.
Thank you.
Come back and see me again.
You got it.
We want to thank Coach Jaggers. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, a Boston Marathon runner will be right here on the Sporting Time Show on WNKY NBC 40. Welcome back to the Sporting Time Show. I want to give a big thanks to Coach Jaggers for coming in. Well, my next guest is a runner, and she is not only a runner here, but she also ran recently the Boston Marathon. Really impressive. Glad to have her on the show. Her name is Shanna Blair. Shanna, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Good to see you. And this is the first time that I've been able to meet you, but I was reading some things about you, and you went and ran the Boston Marathon. We're going to get that in a second. But always interested to find out how you were involved in running, how you got involved. And I've interviewed hundreds of cross-country runners, and I ask them this one question. When you first ran your 5K or went to practice for the first time and ran as a cross-country runner, did you enjoy the experience?
I did.
You see, you're one of the few, and that's probably why you ran the Boston Marathon. But running is, I know that once you begin to run, it's a lifelong passion for most people. But where did you start running? How did you start running? Where did you run in high school?
I started running completely by accident. I stayed the night with one of my friends, and they were going to practice the next day, so I asked my parents if I could go. And so they let me borrow clothes, let me borrow shoes, and the coach at the time, Coach Pagan, he actually said, well, it's your first day, just try to make it a lap around the golf course. So I made it a lap around the golf course, and when he saw me coming, he said, try to do that again.
And from there on,
From there on, I just never stopped.
That's, you know, and it was cross country. Did you ever do distance running and track and field, or?
I did. It kind of goes together. When you're on the cross country team, they're going to throw you into track because for the most part, you're going to run 800s up to 2-milers. Sometimes I was unfortunate enough to be the slow person on the track when it was a 200 or something, just so we could get points. But yeah, I did both.
So, you know, you talk about training, and you know, when we talk to high school students that do cross country and then go on to college and do cross country, we talk about base miles. Like what have you run? What do you run? Obviously, preparing for a Boston Marathon is probably unbelievably exciting. But prior to that, how many miles did you keep up with the miles, or do you just run for a certain time to condition?
I'm not really a by time kind of girl. I need it to be an even on my watch, so it would be certain mileage. I would try, if I'm just trying to maintain, maybe 3 times a week, 4 times a week. I do CrossFit as well. I go to Old School.
Wow, okay.
So that mixes in very nicely with running. It makes you very strong.
It does.
So I love integrating the two, and then sometimes we'll have run workouts, which I love. The other people don't love it, but I love it.
I would imagine. I've seen the CrossFit stuff. That alone, without the running, is tough.
Yeah, it's always a challenge. It's always different. I love the programming, and then again, I just love whenever they throw some sort of run into the mix.
Yeah.
Because as long as the weight's not too heavy, people are gonna be chasing me.
So have you ever done the crazy stuff like is it called like the mud run or something where have you ever involved in that, or are you strictly, you know, the other kind of running?
I like both kinds. We actually, my gym actually puts on the gauntlet. We haven't had it for a couple years, but I've done that. I've done a couple of Spartans. I think the only one I have left to do is the Beast, which is the longest one, but they have a super, I can't think of the middle one, and then there's a Beast. So there's 3 different distances you can do in that. I like those a lot because, I mean, it's just fun to see the challenges they throw into it, and probably one of my favorite things in a Spartan. I remember going to an obstacle and it was a rope climb, and there was all these guys all over the ground doing burpees because they couldn't get up that rope. And I remember the guy that was he was just judging everybody and just making sure everybody was doing it. And I got up the rope and I came back down. He gave me a high five and I went on my way.
So you love the challenge. I mean,
Oh,
I can
heck
tell
yeah.
you just, the more the challenge, the better it is for you. All right, we're going to take a short break. When we come back, we're going to talk Boston Marathon, some other things. We're right here with Shana Blair, and I've been to Boston too. We have a lot in common until we start running. And then that's where we separate, but we will talk more with Shana Blair right here on WNKY NBC 40. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the show. Shana Blair, who just recently ran the Boston Marathon, is my guest. She also is a resident of Bowling Green here. Welcome again to the show. Thank you for coming. So whose idea was it to begin the process to qualify and then run in the Boston Marathon?
It was mine.
It was yours. So nobody goaded you or said, hey, you got to do this?
Well, initially it was just really run a marathon. I had never done that before. I've done a couple of halves, and I was like, I'm going to be 40. When I turn 40, I'm just going to try to run a marathon. So trained for that. My friend and I searched everywhere. I originally wanted to do one in Florida, a Disney one, and when COVID hit, everything closed down, and it got really weird. So when everything opened back up, I started looking, and I searched fastest marathons in America. And I stumbled across the Jack and Jill downhill, which sounded super fun.
Yeah.
You would not want to be faster because they're running down a hill. So we went there. I went with my friend, my husband went, and from there we had to pick our training paces. And when I started looking at it, I was like, is it too far-fetched that I could actually, make that 40-year-old cap and go to Boston? So I just wanted to try to qualify, and I did. And then when it got to that, I was pretty happy that it was just the qualifying point.
Right.
And then once I kind of kept talking, I talked to my dad, my husband, my friends, and they were like, you have to go.
That is so cool.
Like, do I though? but I did, and it was an amazing experience. Very overwhelming. I am not a person that does really well with large masses of people.
Yeah.
So to stick my personality in there, but once you start running, it's just another race.
So you fly into Logan, right? That's where you flew into?
Sure.
Okay, and then you've got the water on both sides, and it's like, so do you start like getting it? I mean, were you excited? Were you, it's like, this is happening?
Mostly nerves, just total nerves, probably for 2 weeks before, just nerves. Mm-hmm.
So 30,000 participants, is that correct?
Yep.
500,000 people watching this. The gun goes off. Wouldn't you love to have known what your resting heart rate was before the gun went off, right?
I could probably look that up. I'd say it was pretty high.
I bet. So you're running, what, 26.2 miles? In a city that you've never been to, is that right? So the gun goes off, or a cannon, whatever they do to get 30,000 people. They say you get to a certain point in a marathon and something happens to your body where it just becomes automatic, and I'm sorry for the lack of knowledge on that, but is that true? Were you just kind of in a zone after you hit like a 16-mile point or?
Well, whenever you're training, a lot of it, you do pace training, so you just try to teach your body to go whatever pace you're planning on going during the race. So I think that's part of it. Your body does just kind of fall into that tempo, and then you're just really looking to, occasionally you'll look down and just, am I on track? Am I too slow? Am I too fast? Which that course is really hard to say, am I too slow or am I too fast? Because it's just heels. Up and down the whole way. Way different than my first marathon. There was not one single time I went up anything.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Except the bus to get to the top.
Oh, no.
So it was, and I trained for hills. So yeah, I think you do go a little bit on autopilot, and you just have to. For me, I have to zone out a little bit. I play music, so it's a lot of music that I normally don't listen to, but it may be like Pink or Taylor Swift, something really fast to try to keep my legs going that faster speed.
So we got about a minute and a half left, but you crossed the finish line. What was that feeling of accomplishment and, I mean, the biggest marathon in the world?
Very overwhelming again, and for me, I didn't have my phone. I just had like a little Apple beacon for my husband. So my thing was, somebody come get me in the car because my legs were tired.
Oh, I bet. So, look, did you? And I know your eating habits are much different than mine. I mean, let's just be honest. You eat to fuel. I eat to eat. But did you get to experience some Boston lobster or any of the good stuff?
Probably my favorite thing that I had there, I believe, we went to it was a seafood place, and there was lots of little things we got to try, but it was the stuffed shrimp.
Yeah,
it was
it's amazing,
delicious.
Isn't it?
Yes.
It's amazing. Well, Shanna, thank you very much for coming on tonight. I really appreciate it. Congratulations on your success, and obviously you are just, you love challenges, and I can just see that, and what a great accomplishment to check off your list. But thank you again for coming in today.
Thank you.
All right, that's going to wrap up tonight's show. Remember, you can watch all sorts of high school sports on stfanclub.com, and also Toyota Scholar Athlete of the Month. You got to check that out as well. For Doug Thompson, Shanna Blair, and the rest of the crew at WNKY, have a fantastic weekend and week. We'll see you next week. Good night.